XRP holders, we just made history. XRP ETFs now have 881 million XRP locked up, the highest we have ever recorded. On top of that, we're seeing whale activity that hasn't been witnessed since 2018. Something significant is happening behind the scenes, and I've pulled all of the data together so we can walk through it and get a clear picture of what's building up. I also have a David Schwartz clip where he breaks down how the XRP ledger was the first DEX ever created, and what institutions are planning to use it for. You do not want to miss that. We have to start here with Senator Lummis. Look at this. She is the queen right here. I mean, look what's right next to her. You can clearly see Ripple. And there are several other cryptos in this same pattern. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and XRP, Litecoin, Cardano, Solana, Avalanche, Polkadot. I thought this was fantastic. I just rewatched all the seasons of Game of Thrones. It is the 15-year anniversary. And man, I love me some Thrones. Alright, enough of that. I do want to show you this, because I track these numbers every single day. I pay close attention to this data so I can educate you and keep you informed on what's happening in real time. Bitwise continues to lead the way, up 11 million, 21 million, 74 million so far today. But this number, 881 million XRP, is a brand new all-time record for XRP held across these ETF funds. This has been an incredible year. We are on the verge of passing 1 billion XRP, that's 1% of the entire supply, locked up in ETFs. And just imagine what happens when proper regulation comes in and the FOMO kicks into high gear. I cannot wait to see that unfold. XRP is teasing the $1.50 level, and whale wallets are leading the charge. Wallets holding at least 10 million XRP now collectively hold 45.83 billion XRP tokens, valued at approximately $68.5 billion. That is the most held since May 2018. That tells you the whales believe something major is coming. They are continuing to pile in, and they're not doing it without reason. Now Zoff Crypto points out that XRP leverage on Binance is getting crowded again. Price is slowly grinding higher, but the estimated leverage ratio is climbing much faster. That usually signals traders are becoming a little too confident on direction. Big moves feel close. The only question is, which side gets trapped first? Also, Bank XRP reported that $7 million flowed into the Bitwise XRP ETF on May 14th alone, bringing cumulative inflows to $453 million. The window doesn't stay open forever. And digital asset investor said it best. It looks like at some point we're going to have an XRP supply issue. I cannot wait. Bring on the supply crunch. The XRP liquidation heat map is screaming right now. Price just swept the $1.55 liquidation cluster and got pushed back down. But that 140 magnet below is still glowing yellow. Market makers do not leave free liquidity sitting on the table. Just yesterday we saw Bitcoin bleeding out while Ethereum posted plus $11 million, Solana plus $11.12 million, and XRP plus $18.52 million. Any day that XRP is outperforming inflows above Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, I will take it every single time. This tells you institutional investors are actively choosing XRP over these other assets, and that matters. Now, I did want to include this next clip because a lot of people are asking, when is the next altcoin rally? What needs to happen? Chartner breaks this down pretty clearly. He has previously suggested XRP could revisit the 70 to 90 cent range before reclaiming all-time highs, which is still a very real possibility on the table. But let's hear directly what he's saying. Let me show you where alt seasons appear. So remember this chart. We've got altcoins, and then you've got Bitcoin dominance. When Bitcoin dominance is crashing, this is when altcoins are going parabolic. Bitcoin dominance drops. Altcoins explode. Bitcoin places a peak. Fast forward to the next cycle, 2020 going into early 2021. Bitcoin dominance was dropping. Altcoins started to peak. Now, why people are so angry this time around is because something is different. Bitcoin dominance has continued to go up. Bitcoin has continued to go up in price. Altcoins have continued to decline. There is a massive divergence. This isn't to say I don't think an alt season is going to happen. I think we're closer to it than away from it. But realistically, when you look at the charts, Bitcoin dominance and Bitcoin have been sustainably climbing while the overall altcoin space has been declining since 2021, for the last 5 years. And people are hurt by it. They can't seem to fathom it, but it's the reality. It is what it is. This is exactly why the majority of crypto holders have stepped away. They've taken a long vacation from the market, only to return when prices head higher. And that's usually the wrong time to come back. You want to be buying when everyone else is fearful. Buying at the lowest points consistently delivers the highest returns in any market. Think about it. When you buy stocks after a 20 to 30% drawdown and they recover to all-time highs, you made serious money if you bought the dip. Crypto is no different. The question is, when do altcoins have their moment? Will it happen again, or is Bitcoin just going to dominate everything indefinitely? We know that utility coins will likely have their day once regulation is in place and banks and institutions are using the technology at real scale. How long will that take? That's what we're all trying to figure out and navigate together. We're already seeing the DTCC, NASDAQ, and the New York Stock Exchange making moves toward tokenization. That could absolutely be the catalyst that ignites utility coin prices. But overall, market sentiment right now is still pretty cautious, even as regulation in America gets closer by the day. Before we go any further, if you've made it this far, please support the content. Every like, every comment helps this video get shown to more XRP holders. My team works incredibly hard to get this information to you quickly, and that small support truly goes a long way. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I hope you're having a great weekend. We've got a lot more to cover. Don't go anywhere. And again, I don't say any of this in a bearish way, but XRP is evidence of this pattern. It has been crabbing for the last 8 to 10 weeks, trying to make up its mind on direction. Meanwhile, if you look at Bitcoin over that same period, it's been rallying, marking its bottom around 60K and pushing toward 81K. The capital flight into Bitcoin at this moment is very evident. Bitcoin dominance is climbing, Bitcoin price is climbing, and altcoins broadly continue to underperform. Now, there are outliers. I've seen TON and a few other projects performing, but the macro picture still favors Bitcoin over altcoins right now. Here's the big reason, and I think you'll understand this as we move through the data. There are simply more institutional products available for Bitcoin right now. BlackRock's IBIT Bitcoin ETF alone does $1.24 billion in daily trading volume, which is the same amount that's in XRP's entire ETF combined. That's the scale difference we're dealing with. So obviously we need more products. We need more institutional investors looking beyond Bitcoin. And that only comes with time, adoption, and continued development. We really need to see Ripple doing big things in the United States with major partners. That JP Morgan, Connexys, MasterCard pilot was genuinely interesting. We need to see those go full scale, and when they do, that could rapidly change our fortunes. I want more announcements. I believe they're coming. It's just a matter of clearing the regulatory hurdles, establishing what the rules of the road actually are, and then I think you'll see utility coins make a very meaningful run. Financial analyst Keeler Kulger says XRP looks strong for a $17 bull run, which could challenge Ethereum's position. Reaching $17 would push XRP's market cap above $1 trillion. Kulger previously predicted XRP could reach $8 to $12 by April 2027. XRP recently hit 155 before pulling back, showing strong resistance at higher levels. Momentum remains intact if the broader conditions align. And seriously, who is taking profit at $1.55? Come on, people. Get it together. Alright, Franklin Crypto Easy Peasy ETF semi-annual filing shows XRP holdings rose from 330 million to 447 million tokens. That's a 35.5% increase. The 10Q was filed on April 28th. What this tells you is that even while price is struggling on the surface, institutional buyers are quietly accumulating XRP. They're buying OTC, off the open market, so it doesn't directly move the price charts. But the question is, when do they run out of OTC supply and have to buy on the open market? That's the moment that could push this thing to the next level. Once we hit 1 billion total XRP in ETFs, I think that's going to make some real noise in the market. I'd love to see what these numbers look like by year's end. XRP RLUSD 24-hour volume is now showing $7.3 million on the XRP Ledger DEX. Trades can route through the order book, the AMM, or both, and that flexibility is part of what makes the XRP Ledger uniquely powerful. Someone asked a great question. David Schwartz talking about the DEX being the first DEX ever created. I had to include this. Let's hear him explain it directly. So the very first idea that Jed McCaleb had was to take Bitcoin and replace the proof of work with some kind of distributed agreement algorithm. Distributed agreement algorithms, similar to how the XRP ledger's consensus works, were known at the time. They go back to Barbara Liskov and others at IBM in the 1970s. Ancient tech. The problems they were solving involved redundancy. If a computer fails, you still want to make forward progress in processing database transactions. You might have 3 computers such that 2 of the 3 have to agree to make forward progress. Jed hired me to explore whether a distributed agreement algorithm could replace proof of work in Bitcoin. But even if it worked, we didn't know if it would be better or worse than Bitcoin for real use cases. So we built the first distributed agreement consensus algorithm for the ledger, early 2012. We asked, what can this do better than Bitcoin? Arthur realized that Bitcoin has a dictator, the miner, who chooses the contents of every block. The XRP ledger, using a distributed agreement algorithm, doesn't have a dictator. The block contents are worked out by the network as a whole. And Arthur realized, if you tried to build an exchange on Bitcoin, a miner could front-run you. They could refuse to let you cancel an order. They could manipulate the exchange. That's why you have MEV on platforms like Ethereum. But the XRP ledger could implement an exchange without those problems because it has no dictator. Then Arthur realized that Ryan Fugger had built technology called RipplePay back around 2004. The idea that value could flow between friends through trust relationships. And that's how the XRP ledger ended up being itself a DEX. Man, I love all of that history. The fuzzy bears showing up at XRP Las Vegas, they were representing. Love it. And Chartner noted, even David Schwartz seems to recognize the significance of Ripple's integration with Hidden Road and its continued scaling into the DTCC. We've covered that extensively here and will continue to report on the latest Ripple and XRP collaborations and developments. Worth noting, JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs are integral participants in the SWIFT payment network. They are also Ripple Treasury Bank partners. Connect those dots. Consensus 2026 just wrapped up in Miami. Here are 3 signals worth paying attention to. Traditional finance showed up in force. JP Morgan, BlackRock, and Fidelity were major sponsors, and roughly half the attendees came from institutional backgrounds. This marks a meaningful shift. Consensus is no longer a developer-only conference. It's becoming a mainstream financial infrastructure event. 3 themes dominated the floor: real-world asset tokenization, stablecoin payments, and the intersection of AI and crypto utility. These aren't emerging trends anymore. They are the current conversation. Projects outside of them are finding it increasingly difficult to gain traction. Attendance itself tells a story. Roughly 20,000 people showed up despite market volatility, with up to 90-minute registration lines. Institutional appetite is clearly growing. The opportunity is real, but so is the competition. The bar for what gets attention has never been higher. The industry is maturing rapidly. All right, there you go, guys. Let me know what you think about all of this data in the comments below. And I just love the Game of Thrones reference at the top. One of my all-time favorite shows. I'll leave it there. Please like, share, and leave a comment if you want to support the channel. It genuinely means the world to me and the team. All the links for our partners are down in the description. Uphold, Uptrade for crypto brokerage, and Decent for a wallet. They've got some really solid deals going on right now. All right, I'll see you next time. I'm Crypto Sensei.